All right, guys. Welcome back to the Off Balance Podcast, Coronavirus Edition. I'm joined by Taza Garami, Taza, and Val. How you guys doing?
Amazing.
Doing well.
Amazing.
That sounds like you guys are doing amazing.
Well, let's tell them why we feel that amazing. We basically, before we start recording and after we end recording, we have obviously a little chat, right? And then we end it on a very not so positive note, but whatever, it's cool.
Yeah, let's not talk about that.
There were positive things though when we talked. There were a lot of positive things, but we just decided for whatever reason to end on a pretty negative one, which is cool. It's okay, whatever.
That was my bad.
We'll decompress with the podcast. It's cool.
Yeah, exactly. So today, I think we have some question, right? Taza, you gathered some question from the people.
From the people. The people want to hear about a couple of things leg locky related and jiu-jitsu related. So let's talk about that and we'll see what kind of perspectives we have on things. And I'm pretty sure we all have pretty similar perspectives. So we'll get started and then we'll just go from there, right? We'll see.
Yeah, for sure. We could get started, or we could too. Right before, wanted to ask maybe how you guys have been, because we talked maybe in a week or something. So maybe if anybody has some news or something that's been going on. Val, how's everything at home?
Val got that new IBJJF shirt by the mail. Look at that summer edition.
I competed over the weekend, it's secret IBJJF competition.
Yeah, the secret island.
You have to be at least master too.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man.
No, I've been doing well. Kind of the new rhythm is taking over. There are positives as usual. There are positives. One of the positives that I found is the overall pace of living slowed down, which is kind of nice. Even you go into the store, you wait the line, you chill out. You're not rushing things. Before it was the schedule I had with running between the jobs and the gym. Even shopping, grocery shopping, is just jump in, jump out, And now everything's slowed down.
Yeah,
that's funny that you're saying that, though. Yeah, it's funny because you're I feel a bit the same. I feel like I haven't felt rush that much since this started. You just gotta. You always have time for stuff, and you don't exactly. You don't have stress over your head. I gotta do this, and that, and so it's good life. Yeah, it's weird, but I like the pace too.
Yeah, I enjoy time with the family. Sitting yesterday, we went out, sat by the river. In the city, there is nothing in your schedule that forces you to rush. Absolutely, you can enjoy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can kind of distinguish what's necessary from not necessary, and then just kind of see how good going out to eat something and coming back feels, something just as simple as that, or going for a walk and coming back and chilling.
And having the time to do these things too. Like yesterday, it was such a beautiful day, right? Just going outside, walk in, stretch at the park or something like that. You don't used to do that because usually you're rushing in between session and between teaching. For you, Val, you have like you said, the work, the gym, the family, everything. So always running around, but now we can rest up a bit. It's almost a good break if you're positive about it, obviously.
Absolutely. And you know what? I'm glad you bring that up, Val, because one of the questions, I'm going to say it, and then we basically just answered it, which is amazing because we did not plan this at all. To our fellow listeners, this is meant to be. All right. So one of the questions by Francis Friday, as an elite athlete competing at the highest level, I appreciate that. I mean, I've been able to compete at 2 comps highest level. So thank you, but we're not there yet. What mental strategies do you employ to ensure you maximize both your physical and cognitive performance in competition? What type of mental training and activities do you undertake during your training, during your off and before your time off and before competition? Well, we just answered it, right? You have training, you have extra things you do, distractions. We can call it distractions or decompressing, right? You can go and chill. You can do that every day between sessions. Go hang out, go to the restaurant, go chill with your buddies, or You can prepare your meals after training. You can go rest in like a cool room, chill, take a nap, watch some tape, maybe think of your training. So those are the little difference for me that I find that, you got to make when you're in camp. Instead of eating my hummus with pita, I'll eat it with carrots. You know what I mean? Little changes like that.
Yeah, I think it's actually a good question too. Like, there's so many ways, and I think it's like subjective. There's not only one way to be successful in competition and in like mental training and physical. It's really about like what works for you. If taking a day off and going for a walk and trying to do something else, or cycling or something like that works for you, it's good. For me, sometimes I make sure I tell myself I'm not a bitch when I try, like when I'm on the verge of quitting. So that's a good way too. Telling yourself you're not a bitch, it's always a good way.
Yeah. To be honest, I think the that inner, like when you're going through a long camp, after the closer you get to the competition, the tougher that camp is becoming, because you're trying to maintain like a pace of training that is pretty elevated and you're limiting distractions. So I feel the mental is maintaining that throughout the whole camp.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and when I say camp, what do I mean by camp? Do I actually do camps? No, we're always training in jiu-jitsu. By camp, I mean you're upping the intensity. You know what skill set you want to work on depending on the competition. So you're working on
preparing for a rule set.
Yeah, preparing for a skill set. You're limiting distractions. Most of the times you got to cut weight. That's also good mental training. Like, you want to eat, you hungry, you can't, you don't have the choice. You know what I mean? So these things kind of help you become mentally more like resilient. You know what I mean? And there's another question, actually, it's very in relation. Sorry, I don't mean to jump left and right, but there's one guy that asked me, I'm on my Instagram page. I can't find it now, but he said, "What was your favorite match?" He said it. What's your favorite match ever? And to be honest, it was ADCC against Canuto. That was not for the outcome, but for how the match went. Like overtime, I was tired. I had gotten my back taken. Like my attacks weren't like working as well as they would against other opponents. I've been coming up after a layoff, and then I know at what point I kind of gave up mentally, you know what I mean? And started to take decisions a little more sloppily. And then so that's when you see like, all right, the camp, the preparation, all that mental like toughness is going to translate into the match when you're tired, when things aren't going your way, when you've been out for a while, when you're kind of an underdog. So yeah, if you prepare properly, confidence will come with preparation, because you've kind of put yourself through the match before you actually had it.
Yeah, and I think like just to get back on that, I feel like there's always an edge that you can walk on, like of overtraining and like training really hard, but like being mentally okay with it, like saying I want to push a bit harder because I know it's going to be good for me. Yeah. But you don't want to like fall in that overtraining where like I feel overtraining is real. Like some people say it's not, but there's like multiple research and I mean I think all of us here have been in overtraining at some point in our life, I'm sure, like through weight cuts and stuff like that. So I feel like if you find that like edge where you can walk on being like training super hard, which is good mentally, but not like killing yourself either, then you arrive at a comp and you're like confident because you put in the hard work and you're fresh at the same time.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I feel another point with the volume is the intensity of your sessions. I mean, we've repeated that a lot on this podcast before, but I think this is the one thing you need to be able to distinguish. Like training a lot doesn't mean training hard all the time. You got to be efficient with your sessions. You got to be able to walk out of the session being like, all right, this is what I picked up from the session. This is the adjustment I made. This is how I'm going to, continue working on this, but it's going to be better because I have this solution to that problem, to that reaction. So I feel like you could walk in to your second session of the day and tell yourself, all right, I'm going to let people work on me. I'm going to work my escapes. I want to work the specific kind of entry. And, you can get really specific because when you're training a lot, you gotta you got to have a purpose walking into your session, right?
I feel like
yeah.
What's that?
I wanted to sidetrack a little bit on the topic of weight cut. As much as we hate it, do you guys feel like sometimes cutting weight gives you a little bit more focus and sharpness?
100%.
Yeah, for me it's kind of the
100%.
same. Like it makes you feel less lazy, kind of, and sharper ahead of competition.
Oh man, that is so true. And this is very, very fresh example in mind. I had the 170 again at Fanatics, right? And I had to cut, and I was fat as fuck, man. I was so fat. I was eating like a pig. I was like 190, right? Just fat, bloated. Okay, in good shape, but just fat, right? A lot of extra. Then when I had to cut down, I had to be super disciplined, meal prep, buy Tupperwares, not lose them, wash them, put food in them, and like do groceries. And you're not used to do that, right?
As being an adult.
Yeah, dude. And then when I had the match against Servio 2 weeks later, eating like a pig, bro, you were right next to me eating those lamb chops. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, we were pigging out. So I think weight cutting definitely gives you an edge. If you're weight cutting, I think you're going to come into competition a little bit hungrier, which is good.
Yeah, it can be good, definitely. For me, I just feel like because I see both sides. I had like a competition where I weight cut and I felt like really like focused because I'm like, I didn't cut that weight to go out and like just lose in the first round. You know, you never want that to happen. But at the same time, I had some moment where I don't know if mentally or like if I overtrained on the weight cut because maybe I didn't do the thing properly, but I felt like flat, like completely flat arriving at some competition. So it does, like in some moment, I think a weight cut can be really beneficial, but I feel like if you get into overtraining with the weight cut, sometimes it can crush you energy wise or mentally. I don't know. I had both happening. I don't know about you guys if you ever had both happening.
I don't know, Val. You go. You tell me.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah, cutting weight and overtraining and not resting enough. It's not an easy combination to have. But still, like I feel like maybe it's a wrongful habit that I developed, but I won't feel like talking about confidence or like coming out and competing. If I'm not watching my weight, like I'm not cutting weight usually a lot, you know, like I'm just trying to stay within the lightweight, which is not longer the case. But but still keeping it a little sharp and training helps me feel more confident. But I need to report back with good results first to be credible.
Yeah. What I was going to say, actually, there's something that I mean, if you try it, you're going to feel the difference. And it's fitnessvt.com. I remember, Pio, you telling me about it.
Yeah.
About 2 years ago. It's amazing. And you will eat a lot more than you think. Like if you want to try weight cutting, at least do it remotely, like supervised and somebody who knows kind of what they're doing, right? So Fitness VT is super good because it tells you what to eat, how much to eat it, when to eat it, what to drink in between. And you eat like 15 minutes before going to sleep. So I followed that and it was pretty easy weight cut. I was not drained. I felt pretty good. I ate a lot more than I thought I would need to eat. And, you know, things like you think you need to, like, if you're not looking to drop 15 pounds of water like an MMA fighter, you don't need to cut back on sodium as much, right? You don't need to cut back on like carbs as much as you think. Like you reduce the quantities and it just makes a lot of sense. So if you guys check out fitnessvt.com, it's George Lockhart, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's basically a George Lockhart. I had a bit of success too with it, and then I passed it on Taza, and Taza is basically saying he had good success with it. It's a good way to cut weight. Personally, I think in the next year or two for me, I was trying to gain a bit of muscle, get a bit bigger, and I think I don't want to cut as much weight as I did before. I'm trying to see and maybe like see the results, you know, of like how I feel with maybe a bit bigger guys that might be cutting.
Yeah.
I think it can be a good way to test your jiu-jitsu too.
Yeah, there's other talks like, you know, the intermittent fasting and all that. You know, problem that I have with intermittent fasting, man, is that like my first meal is a pretty big meal usually, right? I've been fasting, I'm tired, I'm hungry, and that first
Mhm.
meal, like I don't know, my body goes from like not digesting anything to digesting a shitload of food, and I feel like, oh, that shit hit me, and then I don't know,
So I
second
feel.
session, yeah, go
Mm.
ahead.
I was about to say, like, I feel about that because I've been doing it since like for a while now, and especially like in the training was down a bit, so I in quarantine I was doing it. I'm still doing it,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like there's like a period of adjustment. Like now, I don't like training with my first session. I like to have it like fasted because I don't
Mm-hmm.
feel good if I have food.
Mm-hmm.
Then I eat like a small amount, let's say a protein shake with like fruits and stuff like that, and like I digest it for an hour and then I eat a bigger meal and I feel fine. Like my energy level is good. But if I go and eat like bread and like pasta and a lot of fucking food,
Dude,
then it crashes me down. Yeah.
dude,
So
we walked for like, I trained with Luca yesterday. We did
yeah.
swings outside. We walked for 40 minutes, and then I had an empty stomach, just water, and I had 2 smoked meat sandwiches.
Oh yeah, well,
Boom!
yeah. What to
Amazing.
expect, you know? For
They
sure,
hit the
it
spot
tastes
though.
good,
They
but
hit the spot. They were good as fuck, dude. Trust me.
exactly. Where'd you guys get this?
We walked. We took a walk on Beaubien. It's, I don't know. I have the menu. It's not Schwartz. It's not Lester's. It's not Rubens or whatever. It's good though. It's like one of them authentic restaurants. It's called Le Roi du
Nice.
Smoked Meat.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah,
sure,
baby.
Quebec.
That's me. Hey, Le Roi du Smoked Meat. It was fire. It's and yeah, bro. Yesterday was wild. Lineup was crazy to go get the smoked meat.
Nice
People
day.
were out and about having a good time, biking, families, couples, uh, gangs of dudes just kicking it, demand them straight up, just no stress, loving it.
I mean, it's hard in Montreal after a tough winter and the sun comes out. People just want to go out, and I don't blame them. I understand.
Dude, of course, man. Listen, there's also like morale, man, and like I don't know, when you're feeling down, like you're just automatically less productive. There's no way around it. You know, when you go out, you get some sun, you come back, you feel good, you clean your place, you know, you fix the mess, you air the place out, and it's like a fresh new start. So I don't know, man, like
I
to
agree.
not do shit, like you kind of asking for people to, you know, kill themselves and jump outside the window.
It's been a long time. Like
It
with
is.
jiu-jitsu, we forget that we get used to doing pretty much same thing for a long while. But generally, except for work, I don't think like people nowadays are used to doing like having persistent schedules, persistent hobbies. Bunch of people like I think jumping from one activity to another, from
Oh
one
yeah.
interest to another, and here you like have to be confined and do like live the same life every day.
That's funny that you're saying that, Val, because you know what? That's a bit how I feel. Like I feel like jiu-jitsu, the fact that we're consistent with our activity made my quarantine much easier because I was able to lay out a schedule for training and for reading and for whatever I'm doing, and I could stick to it right away. So I didn't had to like be like dying in my apartment saying like, I don't know what I'm going to do for the rest of this whole time and just want to kill myself. Instead, I just went on and I was able to like get some training in a schedule. And that's interesting.
Dude, funnily enough, so this is my first week back training, right? At the house with Luca, doing doubles and whatnot. And there's obviously like this excitement of training again that hits you after so long. And I just realized like 3 days in, like I had tightness in the knee, tightness here, tightness there, tightness here, and there, like feeling pain. And I noticed that I laid off like the routine that I had when I had jiu-jitsu, like the mobility, the stretching, the activation, the loosening up, this and that. So I kind of needed to stay healthy, I feel, having like that sport in my life. You know, I kind of like, not that I depend on it, but it just helps me like just overall be like so much better. You know what I mean? Almost.
But you know what too is like I feel whenever you practice a sport, like it could be any sport, right? It could be weightlifting, it could be like running, or when you practice a sport, you need that other like part of mobility and recovery in it. Like that if you don't do, at some point you crash. And we all of us actually crashed, and at a certain point felt our body given, like you had a knee surgery, I had knee surgery, like Val, you had some issue here and there, which your neck has been bothering you. So like all those things, it's like it forces you to, like when you start back, like you said, same thing for me. I started training again like this weekend with Donald, and my shoulders, I felt them so strong right before. And then in jiu-jitsu, it's different. Like my shoulders are right away feeling a bit tight. So I have to take that extra time at the end of the day to stretch them out, roll them out, and something that we kind of forget. You know?
I love it, man. I love it because you wouldn't feel it on a day-to-day, right? But you'll feel it when you're training, when you need to use your body. Hey, man, you're slacking off. Boom, work on that so you can still train. It's like a trade-off, you know? Jiu-Jitsu hands you that chance to be like, I don't know, more disciplined. Well, at least for me, I'm speaking for me. I don't know for you guys, but
I think for me it's the same. Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. It helps a lot, man.
And you know what I like too is what Val was saying is like we have more time, so there's like no excuse. Like if you're supposed to work on your mobility, if you don't do it now, you won't do it once this whole thing start back. You know, so you got to take that maybe that 30 minutes or an hour during the day that. Going to say, okay, you got to roll out your shoulders, your back, your hips, anything to get like better at your own sport, or at least recover and not be all fucked up. So it's been helping, man. I agree
with you guys. Next, should we move on to the next question? I mean, we could there are many questions. Here's one that I'm just scrolling and I'm going to take a random one. What are your thoughts on the Lachlan Giles leg lock system? I think it's great. I think it's really good. I think he's doing the leg lockers a favor. You know, he's coming up with new things. He's giving people new options, new insight on different things, and I highly recommend to check it out. You know, you don't have to copy everything he does. It just gives you a different idea. Actually, this goes very well with another question that I have on the other. I have two phones that work half fast, so I'm trying to like.
Are you a drug dealer, Taz?
Yeah, dude. That's what I'm doing. I'm drug dealing leg locks, heels.
Phones.
Oh yeah, leg. So the other question is, what's the ratio between tape studying and instructionals for a fellow white belt? So I mean, listen. Here's the thing. Like, go ahead, Pio. You answer that first.
All right. Here's the thing. Actually, Pio. Oh, yeah. Well, I actually have a good idea about it. So first of all, yeah, just to go back to Lachlan, I think, what his system of leg lock is like, it's really nice. He's giving us like new ideas and new tools to play with. So like, you would be stupid to say like, oh no, this shit doesn't work, or I don't want to like play with it. Just go out, play with it, see if it fits your game, try to add it to your game and understand new entries that you might have never seen.
Yeah.
Now, as far as the white belt question of like saying what's the ratio between like DVD and watching tape, right? I feel like watching tape and DVDs are great, but to a certain extent, like if all you do is watch and not try to pick up like certain stuff to go out and practice, it's going to be your mind's going to be full of information that you can't process. So I would say watch a bit, go out and practice, or try to find in watching tape a certain idea. If like, let's say Taza is really good at like heel hook entries from the saddle and you want to focus on that, watch his DVD, watch a bit of his matches, then try to find where it happens. So you're focusing on one idea instead of like just having your mind blown. Yeah.
One thing about watching tape, because I've been watching a lot of tape with Luca, and what's it called? I noticed that I know at what point of the match there's a certain move that gets hit, and there are matches that I've watched over like 10 times. You know what I mean? There are like sequences that I know, like I skip the fluff and the patty cakes, and then I get to where the sequence happens. And then it's like, you know, when you drill, you go to a jiu-jitsu class, how often like your instructor will show the same thing like a week or two later, or maybe the day after. So I don't know, I feel like it's a bit similar when you're watching tape. If you know you're watching a match, guys your style, same body type, things you like, you know, don't don't hesitate to rewatch that same match and that same sequence again, because it's like drilling it, it'll definitely stick to you a lot better. So that's one thing. The other thing about the instructionals, because I've been watching instructionals lately, like one thing that I don't think I would ever do is to like a binge watch an instructional. You know what I mean? Like go through the whole thing right away, because it's too much. You know what I mean? What you should do is like when you watch an instructional, get like 2-3 things out of it and then stop watching. Get 2-3 things. You pick up something cool, leave it, let it sit, let it cook in your head, try it out, watch it. Maybe you see it hit in a match, and then once you're ready, you go back to that instructional, you open it again, and then you can remember things. So yeah,
great idea.
Yeah, I think that kind of kills both questions at once. I don't think you should ever look over instructional or something, especially when that person is having success with it in competition. You know what I mean? There's always a different perspective to the same move, the same knee cut. There's a million ways to see it, million ways to set it up, right? Million little different things you can do, and just the perspective change can make the move work for you, right? So obviously keep an open mind, right?
I would add a little word of caution for the white belt especially. As you mentioned, guys, it's with access to the information that we have now, it's easy to overdrown yourself with it, and especially with all the mechanisms of offering you more and more information. Like if you go on YouTube and check one video out, and then you're gonna see another one and another one on similar technique or just jiu-jitsu related, and everything is new and exciting. It's hard to process everything, so you're gonna be exposed to a lot of things without real knowledge of any.
Exactly.
That's a huge danger, and having a school, you see this from time to time. Like people get really excited, especially at the beginning, into acquiring this question, like how to get better fast.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
and you feel like if you watch a video, you can it already, but unfortunately, your body has to learn it after your eyes saw it. So yeah. Let it sink, practice.
Yeah, don't skip the fundamentals if you're a white belt. That's a big thing, and I think Val, you're basically nailing it. It's like if you're new to the game, like don't expect to nail like some black and gile entries out of nowhere. It's there's some fundamentals you need before you get there. But it's good to watch tape and not limit yourself, but just like make sure you're actually trying to nail the fundamentals.
Here's something interesting that I kind of picked up on. Dude, I'm learning so much about like teaching somebody who's a lot less experienced than you, because I take shit for granted. It's insane. Like but like details that for you, it's completely...
It's easy. It makes sense, right?
One thing like we've been doing is a lot of speed drills, timed drills, right? Like micro drill a certain part of a move, like... Let's say like you put a hand on the hip, elbow on the knee, hand on the other knee, you put the knee down, and then you X-pass. You put the timer and you have that guy do it, repeat it, get as many reps as possible, do that 3-4 times. I noticed like a lot of improvement in like just 5 days from Luca, who's probably watching tape right now, just by getting a bunch of reps, man. And you see like, oh man, this is a good way to get beginners, or I'm not saying he's a beginner or white belt, but for somebody less advanced and that doesn't really want to go all over the place, take one thing and repeat it and focus on it until that thing becomes like really good, and you feel sharp and you feel heavy and you feel like you're doing it right.
I feel we did so many of them like back in the days. We still do them. Yeah,
I've been doing them all week with them. I mean, what's the best way to lead by example, right, is to do it. So I mean, I've been doing them, he's been doing them, and like inversion drills, I haven't done that since blue belt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I haven't done like put a timer, invert, go around, go saddle here and there and show them how to get it done. I haven't done that since blue belt. I'm not gonna lie. Doing it now more than ever. It's insane.
Yeah, that's it is it's good drills to do, man.
Yeah. even on top, for passing, I mean, obviously we're rolling with the same person, but there are a lot of things I feel a lot sharper, like switching sides, going in, going back out, pinning the hips on one side, pinning them to the other, mixing 2-3 moves at once. It just becomes so much more. I don't know. It's like you turn a little road into a highway, and you can just do them a lot better. You know what I mean? The more you drill, the quicker and better and sharper you can do that move, which is fucking amazing, right? Weren't we saying like last podcast? It's not about like having a million different techniques. It's doing like these couple of techniques really well. Well, I think for my fellow white belt, if you can grab a pole, you can invert on, or grab your wife or husband or whatever, and get those reps in, rude boy.
It's
Invert
interesting.
on that pole.
Yeah.
I kind of find that the more advanced the athletes is, you find them focus more on mundane and kind of seemingly boring things. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if I go in this, let's say, if I attend a seminar or whatever it is, and I see like a small detail in whatever small position explained long time and very well, and with the drill and everything, I'll be excited. And I think like after we get excited at white belt, like just seeing the new stuff, then people tend to like try to skip and fast forward to very, very advanced stuff without like paying attention to small things.
Yeah, that's what I had to do, man. I had to tone it down with Luca because I was trying to work on what I wanted to do, that little thing here, little thing there, bring it back, tone it down, and I'm having way better sessions. So yeah, take your time and focus on one thing instead of being all over the place. I think that's a good way to sum up that question. Next question. Best advice and steps to follow for someone getting started in leg locks. Thanks. I mean, I think single leg X, without a doubt, should be a position you should know. Off balancing from that position when they're on their feet, when he's on one knee, when you're both in double guard is something very important. Being able to transition from one leg to another, being super comfortable doing that. Off balancing, again, I'm going to repeat it because it's if you get into single leg X and you're not off balancing the guy, expect him to backstep or to mount you, right? If he's not being moved and bumped left and right and feel threatened, you're going to lose the position. Follow-ups, transitions, very important. Learning how to go from single leg X to saddle, to outside ashi, to neutral ashi, to 50-50, to coming up on top, to going back to bottom. Guard. All those moves, X guard, false X, you name it. Learning how to go from one to the other, because when you're going to be rolling, you're going to want to detect these moves faster than the other guy, right? Again, it's a certain set of moves, but you want to be able to see it even before you get there. You know that you're going to pass your leg over, he's going to pass them, separate that. You know all these steps, and you're already at the finish line waiting for it to happen to catch him, right? So I'd say if you're getting started, get to know the positions, get inside of them, spend some time in them, play around with them. And I think control, off balance, transition, very important. And I haven't talked about finishing once yet, finishing submissions.
I was about to say just to go with what you're saying, like don't think, especially if you're learning, don't think mostly about finishing, but mostly about being able to transition and control. In my opinion, that's more important because the finish will come after.
Yeah. Listen, the other thing about the finish is you can get to the finish before the position. You can catch a heel before the position sometimes. But on a good guy, like you're gonna see anybody from the team or anybody from that's really good at leg locks. You're gonna see them get in a position, control, and then work their way to leg lock. You know what I mean? Even if we bring back the example of Lachlan, like you can see against QnA, and he inverts, transitions, separates, brings his knee down, and then finish.
He's working.
Yeah. Or if you look at Gordon versus Cyborg at ADCC 2017, inverts, take, hand fights, separates, and just learn how to control the position. I think to sum it up, we talk control, off balance, and transition. Good. Let's move on to the next one, guys. So I have two interesting ones. I don't know which one to take first. All right, let's go. Hey Taza, Phil here. I am a dude from Germany. What's up, Phil? Hope you're doing well. And I want to train at Henzo's. How did you manage to move and live in New York? I am 24 years old, 4-stripe white belt, working 3 days a week in a hotel. Money is enough for tournaments, food, and rent. Do you have any tips for me? Would be very happy and grateful if you text me back. Well, we're going to answer on the podcast. We're going to do our best. We're going to brainstorm, all three of us, and try to find an answer. So, well, this is giving me like flashbacks of, obviously when I started, when a couple of years back, when, I had a bit of success in competition and I really loved the sport. And, I was wondering the same thing. So I think before you start thinking of moving, going somewhere else, I'd say at least seek out best kind of instruction close to you. Try to be the best as possible in your area before you think of moving to the other end of the world where people are obviously training and everything. We see many athletes do very, very well by training by their own. We have the Scandinavians, they're doing very well. We have the Australians doing very well. Canadians soon doing very well, right? A bunch of people from the UK, we see them come out with no big camps, right? So, I mean, I think, again, we're talking a white belt, 4-stripe here. Your priority should be to, I mean, I don't think it should be to find a way to move to New York unless you really want to move to New York. I don't want to tell you what to do with your life, but if you think that moving to New York is the solution for you to becoming like really good and like, I don't know, making a living from grappling and making career out of it, yes and no, you don't really need it. You know what I mean? It helps, but there's a lot you can do before you get to that point.
Yeah, I agree too. I think like you were saying, like, let's say if you're starting and you really like grappling and you want to get better, like there's, especially Europe is really easy to travel, and there's some countries that are really strong at jiu-jitsu, like Poland, the UK, like Taza said. There's some camps out there. I've been in I'm repeating myself, but I've been in Dublin in Ireland. There's some good camps for jiu-jitsu. In the UK, there's some guys, like some world champions. So you can really find good training, get better. And not to say that you can like start doing trips from time to time when you gather money to come to New York, experience the way it is, the vibe, because maybe it's for you, maybe it's not. The city is different than wherever you've ever been, right? So it's good to experience it, I feel like we were fortunate, like having some friends in Gordon Ryan, Nicky Ryan, to be able to go pretty easily. And Montreal's not too far. So it's not too hard for us, but moving is obviously a big move. So I just go with what you were saying, Taza. Like, I feel like seeking like the best training in Europe, there's so many good guys out there. I would do that first, and maybe you start crushing it in tournament. Maybe you realize that you want to move, or maybe not. It depends.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with what you said about you don't have to go one shot and stay there. Go check it out. Maybe you hate it. Maybe you don't like it. Yeah. Maybe you don't want to make that move. But if you're in Germany, I would highly recommend you go and train at Matrix with Renee Becker.
Kaiserslautern, right?
Kaiserslautern, an hour away from Frankfurt. If you're taking the train at your own risk, I've tried the train. I've tried twice the train to Kaiserslautern. I've had to, take trains and ask for lifts. Sometimes trains have let me down in Germany, and then like before you go to Germany, you're like, the trains, like if you want to time your clock, time it with the German train. Then you go to Germany, and the Germans are like, that's bullshit. Trains are always late here. They're always delayed.
I feel it's the same in every country in Europe. They always tell like the trains are late.
Yeah, but the thing is, I never thought that. So when I was going to book for train rides, I had like 3 different switches or 4 or 5, and I ended up just, having to, buddy, you need to save me. I'm in the middle of Germany. I have no idea where I am, and I have a seminar in 2 hours. We made it though.
Listen, I'm just gonna say that though. I've been in Europe a couple of times too. Everybody tells me their train are not on time. I never had an issue. So what's the problem here?
I don't know, man. I think you got lucky. I got unlucky. Dude, once there's a tree that fell on, like, I remember, you remember when we had Sapatero in Amsterdam. There's a tree that fell on the track, and there's like the power supply, it cut in half. And so basically all the trains in northern Germany were cut. And then I had to go from Amsterdam to a city in Paderborn, like mission nightmare, dude. Luckily, the guys from the seminar, came through and saved the day. Shout out to, fuck me, man.
Like shit. All right,
dude. I know him by heart. I'm just having a blank right now. Core Fight System. You know who you are, my friend.
That's
You're
a strange name. Val, what do you think about that guy wanting to move?
One thing to add, I'm totally with you guys on this. Like, being a beginner in Jiu-Jitsu, getting excited about the sport is all good, but moving and migrating to another country is a big step. And you have to consider as well, like, if you're a German citizen and you don't have US passport, you're going to be limited. Like, I think for 6 months as well for Europeans to stay in the States, and after you're not legal there. So you not only you have to, it's rare you're gonna be making money off Jiu-Jitsu being a white belt. It's it's near impossible, to be honest. So you'll have to find a job. You have to juggle both job and training. And if you want to live off Jiu-Jitsu, you have to eventually generate results. Plus, you're gonna be limited by 6 months stay in the States.
Exactly.
So eventually, we'll have to come back or move out. It's a struggle, and I think you can progress far at the beginning by like just having good training partners, but not necessarily black belt world champions. Like I would give you example on judo part. Like I was lucky enough to train with very high level judokas, and sometimes I didn't feel I was learning, because I was just flying around, and I was learning only break falls. So
you're good at flying.
I think
getting good at break falling.
Yeah, when you're progressing, you have to be not necessarily like always a nail. At some point, you have to become a hammer, or at least give some good resistance. But if you jump in, I guess training enhancers, it's pretty high level. I'm sure there are different levels, and recreational people are training too. But if you're looking for the best training, you're gonna be in for being hammered a lot. So so it's not gonna develop your offense a lot.
Absolutely, I think we all agree on that.
Yeah, dude. I mean, what's his name? There's a ratio when you train. We've discussed this before. Good time to bring it back up. A ratio of like a certain amount of rounds per session where you get your ass whooped. But there's another ratio where you need to be whooping. Otherwise, like, how do you develop confidence in your moves? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Otherwise, you become really good at defending, but you can't mount an attack or multiple attacks altogether. So it's good to go with lower belts.
Roger that. By the way, Dennis Schindler, that was his name, my friend. Dennis Schindler not only saved the day, but I remember when I had the second European trials in Poland, we drove from his town, Osnabrück, really nice, cute German town, to Poland and back. What a legend. Schindler, my man. I love you. I had to feed him sushi, by the way, when he had to pick me up, because he didn't eat and he was just rushing from work. Really went out of his way to save the day, brother. Thank you very much.
Amazing.
Yeah, dude. People in the jiu-jitsu community are blessed, man. So grateful to be part of it. Another question, guys. I know we're running close on the finish line for today, but there's one that is there. Yeah, let's do it, poha. There's one that's pretty long. I'm going to read it for you guys. All right. So the question is, how do you overcome the stress and anxiety related to competing? That is precisely what has held me back from competing for many years. I looked into it and read that you have to look at challenges, failures, losing, and they should be framed as a learning experience. What do you think, my dude? All right, so this is coming from one of our teammates at Mizu. He is, I wouldn't say new to Jiu-Jitsu, but he's still in his early stages of training, right? So he's trying to get out there. He's trying to compete, but he's a little nervous. What advice can we give him?
As a person who lost a lot in competition,
Yeah.
probably
We all did.
yeah, bring in some wallet. Like I think, first of all, you're not. I don't think ever you're gonna be completely 100% confident and calm going into competitions. There will be always a little bit of anxiety, and the more I listen to other competitors, the more I talk to other competitors, I feel like certain level of nervousness and anxiety is helping actually to stay sharper.
100%.
Secondly, a lot of people start jiu-jitsu to overcome things, like to gain this a little bit more confidence or become tougher, get this experience. So the competition is kind of part of it as well. Like you challenge yourself every time to overcome this fear of losing, whatever fear of being judged, no matter what it is. But at the end, it's a game, and we are not going like it's not an MMA fight where you get knee in the face. You go and roll. Basically, you do the same as you do in the gym for fun, with a little more accountability. So, in another part, I think it's focusing on positives and focusing on the process, no matter win or lose. Like, if you come out with a loss, you focus on what things went well, some things you probably did, like you should be doing something better than some other things, and you focus on the next step, what you're gonna fix till the next competition, and you go from one to another, to another, and that's it.
I hear you. Yeah, Pio.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like with you, Val. And one of the big thing I feel is like competition. It always like means so much to ourselves, but like not so much to the other people around, right? But and one of the biggest anxiety maker I feel is like the fear of losing, or the fear of like not being being judged by others. But other people usually, I mean, I can't pick up a number, but I mean most people don't really care if you're losing. If you put like your work and you try and you do your best, it doesn't really end there, It ends if for you losing is too much. And if losing for you is too much, it means you can't like sit back and look at your loss and be like, okay, what can I do with it? What can I change? What can I like? So winning and losing at the end of the day, like, of course, winning is always better. And that's one of the reasons why we do it, because we're trying to win every time we go out there. But at the end of the day, you're going to lose in your jiu-jitsu career or your jiu-jitsu competition if you're doing them for fun. And it's what you take away from them. And if you make it better and you come back, that's when you start having that feeling of like, okay, it's not the end of the world. I can do better. I can do better every time. And I think practice makes almost perfect, in the sense where if you go out for that big shot, I'm going to win, you lose, and then you're like, all right, I'm not competing for 6 months because I'm too scared of like that feeling again, then for sure it's going to repeat. But if you go out there and you're like, all right, it doesn't matter, I just want to get better, you will have those butterflies. We all do, and it's normal, but you're going to get better at competing because you do it often. And I think that's one of the best way to get better. It's just competing more and more and getting used to the feeling, and not like lingering on the losses, but rather taking something off of it. What about you, Taz?
To add on to what you said, the idea of, obviously, when you're competing for the first time, you're obviously going to be more nervous than the 100th time you compete. So as a matter of fact, some competitors complain about being too relaxed when they jump in too slow. So It's obviously the first time first time I competed, I remember it was Grappling Industries Montreal. Literally, I was like I'm about to leave. That's it. I don't want to do this. Like, why am I doing this to myself? It's normal.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Same question.
we all go through this, and it's good for us to point it out so people can relate. You know what I mean? Like being able to relate to like the fact that we're all going through these same thoughts, but you still go for it. I mean, I think that should give a boost. The other thing that always tell myself whenever my mind starts to wander, like preparing for comps with my body. And it's also easy to have your mind wander when you're tired, when you're beat up, when you had you know what I mean? Those are the moments where these self-doubts start to come up. You should always see competition not as like an end goal, but as a step in your jiu-jitsu journey, right? Because comps never end. There's always going to be that new champion. We got to see it for yourself, your own jiu-jitsu training. Like, I'm getting better doing this. This is going to improve me, help me improve. And I feel like if you see competition that way, it could give you like a pretty cool perspective about doing it. And I think it could encourage you like, oh, I could get better at this a lot faster than just training in the gym. Okay, yeah, this is a good tool and a good way for me to keep improving and keep me motivated, maybe keep me in the game, you know, give me like a bigger purpose, a nicer, bigger purpose to go to jiu-jitsu, because jiu-jitsu helps me be healthier and whatnot. So I think it'd be used as a tool, as opposed to like an end goal that you can measure yourself to, and other people can measure you according to your results in competition. And I think the people that care about you and like you don't really care about whether you win or lose in a competition. They'll be your teammates after you get your arm popped after flying armbar 5 seconds into your very first competition. Don't worry, you're not going to lose all your friends and your family.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think, go ahead, Val.
Yeah, I think the best part is of this advice is to focus on competition as a tool for your own progress. If you're if you're not just buying a place in a competition and without any focus go and compete, that's one thing. But if you really put time and effort, then no matter what the outcome of the competition itself, you're gonna get better. And you focus on this, and you got better every competition, no matter what. You're not gonna get worse.
Exactly, it holds you accountable, like to prepare for that competition, right? Because that's the thing; it's not even debatable. If you have a competition coming up, you're going to be in the gym and you're going to try to get better for that moment. And even if you lose that comp, what happened is like all that, like that month or 2 months of work prior to that competition made you better at jiu-jitsu, no matter what. So when you get back to the gym and no one cared that you lose because they like you and they're like teammates and friends, you're just going to be better at jiu-jitsu. So it's just a step up. It's like, that's what you guys are saying, basically. And that's not debatable, in my opinion, unless you don't show up to the gym.
That's a
then don't compete.
Yeah. Not only that, when you compete for the first time, now you become a person that's competed, and then I can encourage other people to compete that don't know what it's like. So you're going to feel it, you're going to understand it, and you're going to be like, okay, this wasn't like as bad or as crazy as I thought. You're going to be super happy after it's done. Like, you're going to go munch with your buddies. You're going to go have a great night's sleep. You're going to feel like
it's a fun process.
Yeah. At the end of the day, you've done something very good. You know what I mean? You went out, you competed, you tested yourself, and boom.
Yeah, and I feel like it's important to say, like, competing doesn't equal being like having a career in jiu-jitsu. You can be a hobbyist and compete for the fun of it and what it makes you better. And it doesn't have to be like, the end goal is not being like world champion for everybody, you know? Like, there's a lot of locals comp and they're made for that, for like to go out there and like try to challenge yourself.
Yeah. They'll help you become a better version of yourself, the best version of you. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. I think we all agree.
I can't think of a better way to lock it off, man.
Absolutely. I agree.
I think, guys, all the questions, we weren't able to go through all of them. There are a lot more. We'll keep some. And then there are many of them that we've already answered on previous podcasts. So there are many Q&As. If you guys like this kind of format, we have many other Q&As available in the videos. So yeah, give it a listen. Shall we transition from content to support?
All right.
You want to take the support?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. Like, first of all, I want to thank Mizu Studio, obviously. Shut down for now, but Val running the tech. The gym's going to be there for people when it starts back, right?
Of course.
That's
polishing the mats.
That's going to happen for sure. What's that?
We're polishing the mats daily.
Yeah, or like, it was like this, I don't know, like, it's like a car, you know, you're putting like something on top of the car just to make it shine. The mats are full of it right now. You guys are not ready.
Wow, honestly, I've been because I've been kind of running a dojo here at the crib, right? I see how much work needs to be done to keep it clean, my man. Hats off for keeping your gym spotless. Dude, it's crazy the amount of shit that's on the mats, like just after 6 hours. Between sessions, dude, 2 people, between sessions, the amount of shit that can be on the mats is insane. Like maintaining that hygiene is
important.
Important, but I didn't think it would be like brooming, vacuuming, wiping, drying. It's a mission. So
everything.
Clean gym. Can't wait to go back.
Yeah, we're excited for that to happen. Next up, we have Roll Forever. Betty, she's been building a brand that represent like the idea that everybody can roll. Masters like Val. I love saying it every damn time.
I feel like I'm gonna turn a Master 3 in the quarantine.
Yeah, exactly. Val's gonna come back. He's gonna be Master 6 by then. So Betty, we have a website coming on. We'll have a lot of content. You guys might have seen a lot of like couple of Instagram posts. We have like new gear. We're just waiting for this quarantine to finish up because it's going to be easier for people when they start training to be able to get the gear for everybody and the content. But Betty, always a supporter. She's been helping me with the mats too for training. So always helping out. Thanks again. Roll Forever. Next up, we have Scramble Canada. Canada wearing some gear right now. Scramble, the online shop is still open, right? It's still running. So you guys can get some nice gear. You can save some money using our codes, Taz's codes or mine. So go ahead and just go on the website and check what we have. You'll get it by mail. COVID-free apparel. The best. And then we have Physiomentum, obviously our physiotherapist, beloved physiotherapist. If you're in Montreal area, it's the best. They have an online service right now, so I think you can get on Skype or FaceTime, whatever you guys are using, or Zoom, and you can have a session. So if you tweak something running, because you're a new runner, we see them everywhere in the street. Oh. Or if something is hurting, just give them a call, schedule an appointment. And they're the best. They'll give you some exercise. They'll figure out what's painful or not, and you'll be back on track.
Dude, running technique is real.
It is important.
Running technique is real. This is something you need to learn how to do. I see people, dude, with running like with their feet almost parallel. It's insane. I mean, and I don't mean parallel like I'm talking parallel like that. Like if you're on the video version, you'll see what I mean, like ducks. Check it out. Physiomentum. Actually, I had a session with them the other day. My shoulder's been jammed up. It's a lot better now. Obviously, a couple of pointers. And Luca also had a little issue with this, the outside of the knee. Very common injury in Jiu-Jitsu.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that outside of the knee that pops? Well,
LCL.
It's mostly related to, I'm not sure if it's LCL, meniscus. I'm not sure. Usually it pops. So when it locks up and it pops, Tom was explaining to me, actually, it's usually your glutes are not firing properly. That's number one. And when I mean glutes, I mean you have 3 parts of the glutes. There's the big one, there's the one in the middle, and then there's one on the side, right? So what happens when these are switched off, the stress will all go into your hamstrings, get tight, and that is putting a lot of strain on the knee. So if it's ever happened to you, that injury, what he told me to do is obviously activate the glutes. I'll do a quick video on that one day. And then obviously foam roll, sit on a chair and get like a lacrosse ball and then like just sit on so your hamstring, the outside part of the hamstring, and foam roll it and loosen it up.
Brutal. Grueling stretch.
That should at least help with like preventing or like delaying it, or I don't know. I think it would help. You know what I mean? Before training.
Definitely.
So shout out to Physiomentum, Tommy, you legend. I can't wait to see you again.
Yeah. And lastly, I think we're gonna finish just by a little reminder. We have a Patreon going on that just started. Basically, it's donation based. If you guys want to help us with the podcast, go ahead. If not, just do the usual. Subscribe. Leave some hateful comment or good comment as you wish.
Yeah.
You can and you can send your question on Instagram, on anywhere on YouTube. We'll answer them at some point.
By the way, guys, if you're watching this on video and let's say, I don't know, quarantine's over, now you got to start using data again when you go outside the house. There's the audio version too on all platforms, right?
Yes. If you're running and you want to listen to us rambling in your ears, Spotify, iTunes or whatever. I don't know why you would do that to yourself, but hey, if you like pain of running and pain in your ears, let's do it.
Exactly. With that being said,
guys.
I think this is a good place to lock it off. To our listeners that made it all the way to the end of the episode, thank you very much once again for, giving us something to do during this quarantine. It gives us a purpose as well. So thank you very much. And we'll see you next time.
Safe.
Safe in it.
Bye, guys.
Safe.
All right.